Hi, everybody. This is Lissie with Family Strengths Network, and I'm here with Secilli Keeler, one of the spectacular preschool teachers in the public schools. And we're going to talk a little bit about early intervention and the preschool program here in Los Alamos.
Awesome. So excited to be here.
Thanks. So, how does this preschool program aid in early intervention? That's pretty much the whole idea.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So essentially it is the next step after students go through the Las Cumbres early intervention services. Students are able to transfer from Part B to Part C, and they have an IEP and everything follows over. And so it's basically just keeping the littles on track that need extra help. So they're able to get services in the classroom instead of in the home setting.
Awesome. And since it's through the schools, none of this costs money, I'm guessing.
Right. It's all free. The evaluations are free. The program is free. We provide meals. And it's basically just a regular preschool program, but we have all of the added extras that help students with disabilities or students who, not that they have a disability, but they just haven't quite hit their developmental milestones. And really the goal is to get them in and out as soon as we can, and just get all of that progress made. Doesn't always happen that way, but that is the goal. So
awesome. So what is, now that we have preschool programs starting at all the elementary schools next year, what is the difference in the developmental program and the regular New Mexico pre-K? Or are they kind of, I have a kid in one of them and I'm not even certain of the
yeah. It's one of those things where we all follow the same curriculum. We are all, we have to take all of the same trainings, but the ratios are different. And also as far as cost regarding typically developing peers, that's where it's a little bit different. So for the New Mexico pre-K, the ideal ratio is more of what they call a natural ratio. So the amount of students on IEPs and the amount of typically developing students, the students on IEPs are a little bit smaller, the ratio. And so there are more typically developing children in those New Mexico pre-K classes. And because it's lottery, it's free. So if your little gets into New Mexico pre-K, then everything is covered. As far as the 3Y or developmental pre-K, the ratio is more the opposite. So we have more students on IEPs, and there'll be 2 typically developing peers per class. And we're going back to 2 3-hour classes for the 3Ys, because I know that was something that the littles really struggled with this year, was being at school for 5 hours without a nap. It's a long day for the littles. So with the 3Y classes are going back to what we had before, 4 days a week, 3 hours a day. But then the 4Ys for the New Mexico pre-K will still stay at the 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. So really it's just a change in hours and ratio is really all that it is. We're, all trained in the same way. We all know how to write IEPs and tackle the amazingness of littles. So we're all good at it. So
what type of delays and issues are addressed in the program? What are things that kids might? Okay.
We're back. Yeah, things happen. So as far as disabilities or delays that are addressed in the preschool classrooms, it's essentially anything. We, most of the students qualify for preschool under speech language impairment. But as preschool teachers, we are trained to keep an eye out for other delays that may exist, whether it's physical, emotional, social, and we write goals based on those deficits. And we have tons of resources and tons of professionals, that's not the right word, experts, there we go, that work either downtown or in the schools with us that, can really help us facilitate progress being made in all areas of development.
Awesome. I'm going to skip to a different question since it makes sense.
That's okay.
What therapists are available to help meet the kids' needs? It seems to kind of make sense with talking about the experts. So you have, you mentioned speech,
right?
Speech therapists, and
yes, we have a speech at PreK, and this is not necessarily the same at all schools. All schools do have a speech language pathologist. We have one at PreK that is specifically for preschool, which is nice, and she's right down the hall. But then we have an OT, which is an occupational therapist who helps with self-care and sensory integration, fine motor. We have a physical therapist who helps with the gross motor, the running, moving, jumping. We have a clinical counselor that helps us handle more behavior type problems or social emotional issues. And then we have vision specialists. There is a vision specialist who is not at PreK, but she's stationed at Aspen. She's amazing. We have behavior therapists downtown that help if we need to do an FBA, functional behavior analysis, or a behavior plan. And we also have an autism team that is stationed primarily at district office, but they're kind of spread everywhere to help with those types of delays. So we have a plethora of things, and really, as far as schools are concerned, we're very we've all been in each situation, so we're all kind of experts for each other when it comes to different situations that some may not have encountered. And so we always start small, and we do a lot of teaming and brainstorming as teachers before we, kind of branch out to see if there's something that we can do without having to pull in the extra people, unless we need it, and then obviously we will. But
yeah. So a lot of the services happen in class, but you have other people who, like some kids would get pulled out for speech and things of that nature, depending on their specific needs.
Right. And really their attention, their ability to focus, and especially with speech, it's hard to do that in an inclusion type of setting because preschoolers are loud. And when you're trying to, help a student make a particular sound, trying to hear that in a class with 15 3-year-olds is not the easiest. So a lot of times for speech, they get pulled out, but we do inclusion speech groups where, the therapist will come in and do a small circle time when they read rhyming books. We practice euphonics, but a lot of other services can be and are done in the classroom setting.
Awesome. what might a day in your class look like? It looks like a lot of fun because, you know, I've had both of my boys have been in your class.
Yeah. And I'm so excited to go back to normal school. But before we were meeting everybody in the hallway, kind of outside the classrooms. We would all line up together, wait for everybody to get there. And then we would head into the classroom. Now we're waiting outside and kind of lining up near the bus loop, or I guess it's the drop-off loop now. And we come in and they find a star on the door that has their name and their picture on it. They come in, put their stuff down, wash hands, go potty, and they grab a fidget while they wait for everybody to be finished in the bathroom. And depending on the class, it takes longer time than others because we have diapers. But then we have a circle. Now that we're doing 5 hours, we've been doing a small group time to hone in a little bit more on those academic skills. And then we do some Go Noodles, have snack. It's
Go Noodles are like movement videos and things for the parents who haven't been in the schools yet.
Yes. So, it's our favorite is it's like a band kind of dance group, and they're called Cuckoo Kangaroo, and they're hilarious, and the kids love them. And so I just put it, I just YouTube Cuckoo Kangaroo, and they get to pick whichever video that they like. We kind of go in a circle. After snack, we have playtime. And through the state, we are mandated to have 1/3 of our day be free play time. So they can play with whatever they want in the classroom for however long, and play with whoever they want. Yeah. And that's when you get to see a lot of their personality come out, and really their creativity, because they do have access to all of the things in the classroom, especially the art table. I have a lot of 3D art stuff like corks and cardboard, so they like to do that. Then we have lunch, then outside, then go home. So I try to cut down on the amount of transitions because that's usually hard for the littles. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't seem like that long of a day, but it can be long depending on how they're doing that particular day. Sometimes Absolutely. They're gung-ho.
And there's always you and an IA, an instructional assistant in the room, typically, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And depending on the ratio, so our special education ratio is 1 adult to 4 littles on IEPs. And then for the typically developing peers, it's 1 to 10. So we do have very low ratios. So really, as soon as we're, in the 10 range, we get, there's an additional adult that comes into the classroom. So most of the time you'll see 3 adults in each classroom, if not more than that, depending on how many littles we have.
Awesome. So. And I think we kind of covered that, a few things are going different during COVID. Are you guys going to have, everybody will be masked? Is that?
Yes. So unless there is, and I haven't heard of any specific children that need this, but there is a health waiver. It was hard for some of them at the beginning to mask, but we've really got it under control now. And I think that I found keeping the room cooler makes it easier for them to keep their masks on because they don't get overheated. But it's the same for me. I'm hot-blooded, so I like 65. It's too hot in here. But we do, we still do our normal hand washing. We're pretty clean in the preschool classrooms just because, kids carry all kinds of things. And so, we do wash the tables, with soap and soapy water and then a bleach solution after. And toys get washed and sprayed, and anything that goes in mouths gets sprayed right away. And that hasn't really been a problem lately because they have their mask on, but normally, things go in mouths sometimes. But I feel like we've been, keeping up with our routine, and things get cleaned every day. And so the masking hasn't been too bad. It's been pretty good. I'm really actually proud of how well most of these littles have adjusted to such a massive life change.
Yeah, it really has been surprising to see all the small guys in my little one's class.
Right.
I think the only other question I have is, you mentioned an IEP, and a lot of parents new to coming into the school setup have no clue what those letters stand for and what the role they play in their kids' education is.
Yes.
So if you could explain.
Sure. An IEP is an individualized education plan. So essentially, you take your little, they go get evaluated. Whether it's downtown, you can call student services to get that done. Or if you would like to go to an outside agency, there are also those options. And they get an evaluation done. We, as the preschool special education teachers, get the report, and we write up a summary and write goals based on the deficits that are displayed in the evaluation. So if there is, for an example, if there's a little who has difficulty communicating and isn't using the potty, we'll write, this child, by this time next year, hopefully this child will be able to communicate with his wants and needs with peers and adults, and also, use the potty independently. And so really the IEP is what progress we want them, whether it's teachers or family, it's a team. So we're all, in it together. It's not just, what the teacher decides. Parents have a say as well. And so there are a lot of times that, I'll have ideas. I'll say, do you have anything that they, use a deficit you might see? And so we'll put that in as well. But really, it's just a roadmap of how to address the deficits that have been identified, and get them into a situation where they're making progress in the classroom. And it really is, it seems very rigid, but IEPs, anything can be put in an IEP. So, if there's something that you're feeling like isn't being addressed, speak up, because we, more likely than not, what is happening at home and what's happening at school are very similar.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's where
did I answer it?
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
It's always hard to say, since I've been doing that for a while, I know.
Right.
But so that's also where services would be addressed. So the IEP will say this child's going to get speech therapy, and they're going to get occupational therapy or physical therapy or whatever.
Right.
And so that
and also, my lights just went off. Sorry. Also the amount of time that they will be getting those services, and it's per week. So depending on the school and the deficits that kind of exist. They might be in for an hour or half an hour, 15 minutes. Maybe, most of the time, OT, PT, and speech don't go for more than an hour each week. But, when preschool littles go to kindergarten, sometimes they have, they go to a special education room for maybe a little bit longer than that. But it just kind of depends on the situation.
Yeah. Awesome. And then I will, when I have this all posted, I'll include the information page on the website for student services and the phone number, and so that people can find how to get started if they're looking for an evaluation. And I think that's all of my questions for you.
Perfect.
So thank you so much. Anything else you want to?
Of course. I think that at the beginning, I might have said B to C, but it's actually C to B services. So part C is the early intervention services through Las Cumbres, and part B is the preschool program.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about it the whole time. I was like, I think I got that wrong. I don't think that's right. But also where, any preschool teachers are, open for questions. And if you ever need help or support, there are tons of preschool parents, and you can always reach out to me, and I am open to answer any questions that you might have about preschool and what it entails and any of that.
And so if you're not sure how to get in touch with them, Family Strengths is a good place, because I can point you in that direction, and almost anybody else out there can too. We've had a good chunk of our kids make it through Miss Keeler's class.
Well, thanks. I know they're so big now. Seems crazy.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Secilli.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm always excited to talk about preschool and littles. And so anytime.